This is a video on how to find domain and range of all types, given set notation, given a graph, given a mapping. This is how you do all the different types. So when you're looking for the domain, we know that those are the X values. Oh dear, we need to change that color and make it smaller. Here we go. Okay, we know that this is the X values, and we know that the range is the Y values. And you can see this one I've done already. So I put curly brackets, and then I put them from least to greatest, and I don't repeat any repeaters, and that's for this right here. So -2, and then 2 and 3, that puts them in least to greatest order. I did not write this one a second time. You only write it once. And now we're going to do the range. So I do my curly bracket, and then I look in the range values. So you might want to make yourself a list. There's 1 and -2 and 4 and 1. Now I'm going to write them in least to greatest order, and I'm not going to write these twice. Okay, so I would say -2, comma 1, comma 4, curly bracket. That's it. That's how you do that type. This one is on a graph. So I'm going to look and read the graph from left to right for the domain, and from bottom to top for the range. I got to go back and say if this is a function. Now, a function is when there are no repeating X values. So I'm going to look back here. -2, -2. Oh, we got a repeater. So this is not a function. No. Okay, now looking at this one. Remember, we're going to look from left to right on a graph like this. When you are deciding if it has, if it is a function or not, you are looking for, are there any repeating X values? So if you were to draw a vertical line through any of these dots, do you hit more than one dot? Nope, I only hit one dot at a time when I do the vertical line test. So this, yes, this is a function. Now, writing the domain. I'm going to scan from left to right. Okay, here's my first dot, and it's at -1. And then I keep coming over. That's at +2 on the x-axis. And that's at +3 on the x-axis. And then this one is at +4 on the x-axis. And that's taking care of all my little dots. Now, or points, I should say. Okay, now I'm going to start from the bottom, and I come up here. Okay, that's -3. -3 is the first Y value. And then -2. And then 0. And then +1. So that is how you look at the graph. Now I need to go ahead and erase that and move my documents. Okay, here we go. Now let's look at these. This is a table and a mapping. Mapping is the only thing that's new. Everything else, all these other ones we've done last year, or should have done last year. So I'm going to look on number 3. I look to see, are there any repeaters here? I see a -1 and a +1, but they're not the same number, are they? They're not located on the same place on the number line, so those are different numbers. Okay, so I see no repeaters, and that means yes, this is a function. Again, curly bracket, and then least to greatest, and no repeating values, which we already decided there was no repeating values. Wow, these are already in order for me. How nice is that? Notice I put a little comma after each number. Okay, now I'm looking in the Y values. Okay, and those are not in order for me, and I do see a repeater, so I'm only going to write that once. Do I care that there's a repeater? Does that mean anything as far as it being a function? Not if it's in the Y's, only if it's in the X's. Okay, so -4, -1, 2, 4. All right, now I'm coming up here to this next one. This is a mapping. I see that there are 2 lines coming out of this one X value. So if I were to write this ordered pair, it would be -35, 1. But then there's also an ordered pair that's -35, 22. Okay, so those are repeating X values. So this, no, it's not a function. Okay, now, luckily for me, my domain is already written for me. You don't repeat repeaters when you do a mapping. And I have them already least to greatest order. So I just have to copy and paste what was already in the X. I call this X island, and this is Y island for a mapping. Okay, so what's in Y island? 1, 4, and 22. Again, curly brackets. Okay, so curly brackets, don't repeat repeaters, least to greatest. That's what you have to remember on all of these. Okay, you can always pause this video, but I am not going to pause. I'm going to keep going to make it as short as possible. Okay, now we're talking about continuous graphs. These are graphs that have lines or curves on them. Okay, so we can't just list each little value. Look, like there's a point, there's a million, billion, zillion, actually infinite number of points on this line. I can't describe all of them, but in a list, like, well, 1 is okay, 2 is okay, and like I did for the others, okay? That's why this is different. So what I do is I use inequality symbols to describe it. Okay, so the numbers that are okay to use for the X values, this continues off the graph up and up and up forever, up and up and up forever. And so we say that the domain is all real numbers, ARN. I'm going to spell it out this time. And then next time I'll just use the abbreviation. And is this a function? Well, sure. If I drew a vertical line, I could draw a vertical line anywhere on that graph, and it is not going to repeat. So yes, this is a function. The range, okay, there is a limit to the range. See, it doesn't go past there. And that's -10. So this dot right here, or this last spot, it could be is -9. So I write -9 less than or equal to the Y value. Okay, there's no limit on this end. It just keeps going forever. If there was a limit, I would put less than or equal to and what that number is, but there's not a limit. So this is all. I'm done. Okay, this graph continues to the upwards, downwards, right, and left in all directions. So ARN, ARN. Is it a function? Yes. There is no place that you could draw a vertical line and hit that, that curve twice. Okay, so that's those two. Now we're scrolling down. Oh, this is the part that takes the longest, the scrolling. Okay, now looking over here at number 7. So again, I can't list every single X value that's okay, because I would have to list something like 0.257, then 0.589. Just a ridiculous amount of numbers. So I'm going to just talk about the limitations of the X's. And the X's go in between these two numbers. What are those two numbers? -2 and +4. So over here, I write -2 and +4. The least value goes on the left side. And then what am I talking about? I'm talking about X values. So I put X in the middle. So the value of X can be greater than -2 or equal to it, and it has to be less than 4 or equal to it. Then I look at the limits of my Y values. Here's the limit of my Y values. It just so happens that those are the same numbers. That's just a coincidence. So -2 is the least value, and +4 is the greatest value. And now I'm talking about Y's because I'm talking about the Y axis here, okay? So now I have my symbols. Can you draw a line in here and hit only one time? Nope. Fails the vertical line test. Not a function. No. Okay, while we're talking about functions, boom, vertical, well, it wasn't very vertical, but vertical line test hits twice. So this is a no. All right, the domain. The domain is the X values. It doesn't go any farther past this point, -3, on the X axis. So we say -3 less than or equal to, we're talking about the X axis, so we use X. There's no limit on this side. If there was, I would put that number here, but there's not one, so I just leave it off and I'm done. Okay. The range, just like the ones above, well, not just, well, anyways. So this is continuing up and over for forever and down and over for forever. It's going to cover all of the Y's for eternity. And so that's why we use ARN for the range. Okay. Now put that in the trash and scroll down further. Last question here. So this has an X value right there. And what the question is asking you is, what of these numbers could I put in for X and it would still be a function? So let's think about the definition of a function is no repeating X values. No repeating X values. So you see -4 here. So if I put a -4 there, that would be a repeater. So -4 doesn't work. 3 doesn't work. 0 doesn't work. 5 doesn't work. So it could be any of these. So those were the ones that you would highlight. That's the end. Oh, I gotta press that button.